everybody, welcome to ViceGrip Garage. Today I'm going to be your host because Derek is out of town for a few days, and my going to town rig has a ton of issues that...
Welcome back to the shop. The lights flicker, metal echoes through the building, and another forgotten machine waits for a second chance. This is where miracles happen or where everything can fall apart. Because behind every restoration, every roaring comeback, and every mile driven on blind faith, there's a truth most people never see down on the surface. It looked like another normal day, another build, another rescue, another chance to turn rust into redemption. But beneath the sound of grinding steel, beneath the laughter in the videos, beneath the engines roaring back to life, something darker was quietly taking shape. Something that would test the creator, the family, and the very foundation that kept all of this alive. The fans thought they knew the full story. A man with tools, a camera, and endless determination. A channel built on grit, humor, and the promise that no car is ever too far gone. But they didn't know about the sacrifices that piled up behind closed doors. They didn't see the moments that nearly broke him. They didn't see the pressure, the exhaustion, and the silent storms brewing just out of frame. This is the part of the journey nobody expected. The part where success becomes a burden. Where loyalty gets tested. Where family becomes the anchor or the breaking point. Stay with us because what you're about to hear reveals a chapter that changed everything. Before the chaos, before the pressure, before the world began to watch every upload, there was just one man, his toolbox, and a deep-rooted belief that forgotten cars deserve a second life. He wasn't born into fame. He wasn't chasing views or sponsors. He was chasing memories, chasing passion, chasing the rush of hearing an engine fire up after decades of silence. The creator at the heart of this journey built his channel from nothing but determination. His charisma didn't come from flashy edits or expensive equipment. It came from authenticity, from being real, from speaking the language of rusted bolts and seized engines. It was a language people understood because it reminded them of their own fathers, brothers, uncles, and friends who spent their lives under the hood of a car. He earned fans slowly, one project at a time. A budget rescue here or roadside revival there. He became known for taking the forgotten, the unwanted, the nearly dead, and breathing life into them with humor, grit, and a stubborn refusal to quit. His channel didn't just grow, it exploded. Millions started watching. Comments poured in. People saw him as a symbol of resilience. But even as the fame built up, something else was building too. Something heavier. Something that didn't show up on camera. Because behind every successful creator is a price being paid. One that viewers rarely notice until it's too late. While the audience admired the builds, the engine swaps, and the long-shot rescues, they didn't see the person who quietly kept the entire machine running. His wife wasn't just beside him. She was the force that steadied the chaos. The silent strength that turned a one-man dream into a family operation. She wasn't a background character. She was the logistics mastermind, the planner, the organizer, the one who made sure that every part, every tool, every camera battery, and every schedule stayed aligned. She managed the home while he managed the projects. She packed for road trips, prepped the kids, handled meals, planned routes, and knew exactly where every essential item was before a rescue mission began. What the viewers saw was a smooth process. What they didn't see was the late-night planning, the sacrificed sleep, the countless decisions she made so he could focus on bringing dead cars back to life. She balanced family with business, pressure with patience, and dreams with reality. Without her, the videos would have been chaotic, the builds unplanned, and the entire channel far more difficult to operate. Their partnership extended far deeper than marriage. Every success he celebrated, she had a hand in it. Every risky decision he took, she steadied him. She wasn't just a partner in life. She was a partner in the craft, quietly shaping the direction of the channel, offering input on builds, and handling the invisible work that kept the system running. And yet, all of this happened behind the scenes. The audience saw her in glimpses, but they didn't realize the weight she carried. They didn't see how vital she was until the day she stepped back. That moment's smile on the surface became the turning point that shifted everything. Because when the person holding the structure steps away, everything begins to shake. It didn't happen overnight. There wasn't a single moment where everything collapsed. But there was a moment where things stopped feeling balanced. When she stepped back, even for a short time, the absence was felt immediately. Workloads doubled. Schedules slipped. Small delays turned into big obstacles. Tasks that Untold handled off camera were suddenly piling up on his shoulders. What looked like a simple shift from the outside was actually a foundational change. And for a creator already operating at full capacity, the strain became almost impossible to hide. Content slowed. Deadlines piled up. The energy on camera shifted, not drastically, but enough for long-time viewers to feel something was different. The family warmth had to find the channel started to thin out. The projects grew heavier, more stressful, more emotionally taxing. This was the beginning of the quiet slide. The moment where cracks formed, cracks that weren't obvious yet, but would soon widen. Because every great journey has a turning point. This was his. Long before the move, before the fame, before the exhaustion, his story began on farmland, somewhere between the peaceful stretches off North Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. A place where machines weren't hobbies. They were lifelines. Tractors breaking down in the middle of harvest wasn't an inconvenience. It was an emergency. If something stopped working, you fixed it. No excuses. He grew up surrounded by engines, tools, and the smell of diesel. He learned early how to solve problems with his hands, how to take something broken and give it another chance. That lifestyle shaped him long before he ever touched a camera. As he got older, he transitioned into the world of auto repair and eventually corporate jobs. Stability replaced passion. Paychecks replaced projects. But deep inside, something kept tugging at him. The desire to create, to restore, to build, that spark never died. So one day, armed with nothing but a taped-up smartphone, shaky lighting, and a garage full of rust, he filmed his first YouTube video. No script, no fancy gear, just honesty and grit. The rough edges became part of his charm. He wasn't pretending to be perfect. He was showing real struggle in real time. Slowly the channel began to grow. People connected with the simplicity, the authenticity, the unpolished reality. They saw themselves in him. Someone trying to make something out of nothing. Someone who didn't give up when a bolt broke, or when a starter failed. Someone who kept pushing because that's all he knew. And that was the beginning of Vice Grip Garage. Not born from fame, but from a lifelong love of hard work and forgotten machines. Every creator has a rise, but his wasn't effortless. It was built on sweat, busted knuckles, and near impossible rescues. He didn't chase exotic supercars or shiny restorations. He chased life and rust buckets the world had already given up on. Budget builds, roadside revivals, barn finds buried under decades of dust. Each project was more than content. It was a symbol of hope for anyone who ever wondered whether an old dream could be brought back to life. People loved the way he explained things. Simple, clear, and often mixed with humor. They loved the chaos, the uncertainty, the feeling that this might actually not work, but was going to try anyway. But with every viral video came more pressure. Deadlines tightened. Expectations rose. The audience grew from thousands to millions. Sponsors came knocking. Schedules filled overnight. The garage lights stayed on longer. Some nights they never turned off at all. The grind was relentless. Long drives to pick up cars. Miles of tooling. Filming, editing, publishing. It never stopped. The rust he removed from old cars mirrored the exhaustion creeping into his life. But he kept going because the rise was addictive. Because the community was supportive. Because every engine that roared back to life was a reminder of why he started. He was climbing fast. But the higher you climb, the harder the world pushes back. Success looks glamorous from a distance, but up close it has sharp edges. The creator often talked about working 7 days a week, sometimes 14 hours at a stretch. The long road trips between shops became routine. Meal times blurred. Family moments slipped away in the rush to keep the channel alive. Before YouTube, he had stability, predictable work hours, time to breathe. But when he chose to chase his dream, he stepped into a world where missing one video could mean losing thousands of viewers. He had no safety net, only the drive to keep going. One of his most symbolic builds, the Never Give Up shovel, mirrored his own life. Torn, tired, scarred, but unstoppable, the car gained legendary status among fans. But what most didn't realize was that every hour spent fixing that Chevelle was an hour taken from his family. The burden grew quietly. There were days he questioned everything. Nights where the shop lights felt too bright, too loud. Yet he pushed through because he felt responsible. Responsible for the audience, for the builds, for the brand, for the dream he and his family started together. The engines roared, but Insidia was running out of fuel. Something had to change. The winters in Minnesota and Wisconsin were brutal, unforgivingly cold to the point that filming became impossible for months. Frozen bolts, icy shop floors, biting winds that cut through gloves. 3 to 4 months off productivity disappeared every year. For a creator, depending on consistent uploads, this was unsustainable. So, the family made a life-altering decision. Moved to Tennessee. It wasn't just an escape from the cold. It was a strategic move to protect the channel's future. Tennessee promised warmer weather, year-long filming opportunities, and a chance to breathe, a chance to reset. The financial benefits were impossible to ignore. 2.0 state income tax meant more stability for a growing business. And with car shows, events, and collaborations scattered across the southern states, travel time would shrink drastically. For the kids, it meant open fields, sunshine, a chance to explore without being trapped indoors by weeks of snow. For the family, it meant a fresh start. For the channel, it meant survival. But moving wasn't just packing boxes. It meant leaving behind friends, routines, memories, familiarity. It meant stepping into the unknown, hoping the leap would pay off. The new garage symbolized opportunity, but also vulnerability. Change can be exciting, but it can also expose hidden flaws. Little did they know a new stone was waiting for them. One that would test the limits of both machine and man. The moment that pushed him to the edge didn't come from fame, family, or finances. It came from a car, a 1979 Fox body Mustang. On paper, it seemed like just another build, another rescue mission. But the timing couldn't have been worse. Deadlines were shrinking. Pressure was rising. The weather turned brutal. Even in Tennessee, winter had a bite that ear. The cold seeped into the tools, the metal, and the bones. Every bolt felt frozen. Every step felt heavier. The project dragged on longer than expected. Filming became exhausting. The Mustang became a constant reminder of everything he was struggling with. Fatigue, burnout, emotional strain. The kind of weight that doesn't show up in footage, but crushes you behind the scenes. He pushed through the freezing air, through the tight deadlines, through the exhaustion creeping into every part of his day. But the storm outside mirrored the storm inside. Loud, relentless, unforgiving. There were moments during that build where he almost walked away. Moments where he questioned whether the dream was worth the cost, whether the audience would understand, whether he had anything left to give. And yet, the harder the world pushed, the harder he fought back. Somewhere in the middle of that storm, something changed. Maybe it was a spark plug firing. Maybe it was the engine coughing back to life. Maybe it was the silence between long breaths of cold air. But something shifted. He remembered why he started. Not for money, not for views, not for pressure, but for the thrill of revival, the joy of fixing the impossible, the love for machines and memories. The Mustang's final roar wasn't just a victory. It was a message. You still have what it takes. The engine echoed through the shop like a reminder of resilience. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty, but it was alive. And so was he. In that moment, he reclaimed the passion the grind had stolen. The fire was back. The purpose was clear. He wasn't done. Not yet. Not by a long shot. Every journey has storms. Every dream has a price. Every success hides a struggle. But what defines a person isn't how smooth the road is. It's how they navigate the rough parts. How they hold on when everything tries to shake them loose. How they rebuild when life falls apart like a rusted frame collapsing under pressure. He faced burnout, pressure, cold, exhaustion, and uncertainty. But didn't quit. He adapted. He pushed. He grew. And through it all, the family that once built the dream beside him remained the heartbeat that kept him going. Even when the world felt unbearably heavy, the story doesn't end here. If anything,